We've got new footage, new angles of Eli Holstein not getting punched in the face, which makes him a liar.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up? Welcome back in, guys. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, baby. Well, we're absolutely torching the PITT Panthers again today, Monday, and we're easing into the Kansas talk as well. We'll look in on the Kansas squad, look at some of their numbers, try to explain why we're such heavy underdogs in the game, but we'll get there. And then we'll put a bow on it like we always do at the end with whatever I want to talk about. So, all right. So if you're not aware, if you're just catching up, Eli Holstein said that he got punched in the face at the game Saturday. It concerned a lot of us because we've worked really hard to try to get this reputation to go away for the most part. We like being rowdy. We don't want to punch people in the face, right? So that, we were told they were spin on. We were told they got hit with things coming into it. That's all we've heard for 3 years, 4 years. We got a lot to get into, but before we get there, obviously, this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today to get started. And thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. I take great joy in this, but, let's get to it, man. Obviously, this is one of them things that could he be mistaken? Somebody mentioned this. Could he be mistaken? I don't think so, man. I really don't. And I've thought about it a lot. So, let me find it here. There's a video of it. I had it pulled up here, but I guess I scrolled up from there a little bit. I can click on it. I think it's maybe on, let's see, right here, I believe. Yep, here it is. So, yeah, here it is right here. Nope, sorry. I guess I've skipped past it somehow. Or maybe my screen, I guess what happened? I bet my screen updated and went up a bunch. So we'll find it. We shall find it. It's a video of Eli Holstein not getting hit, obviously. Okay, here's one. Okay. So Eli Holstein said he got hit in the face on a play that sent him out of the game. With a bloody nose. And he said it in the post-game press conference. And, a lot of us, who would think somebody would lie about this, So here we go. This is Eli Holstein right here on the keeper. This is what he's calling a punch in the face. A player tackling him. Seriously. Let's watch it in the fast motion. It's the most... I just can't even believe that that's what he's talking about. It's to the point that, I was dumbfounded when I saw that play. I thought, well, surely there's more to it than that, right? Here it is right here, guys. Found the good view. So this is what he's talking about, being punched in the face. What did I tell you guys on the show I did the other day where I mocked him with his bloody nose? I said, he got hit with a face mask. I watched it live when it happened. I thought everybody else saw this. But I didn't see anybody else saying what I said that, after the game, which was He got hit. I didn't know when. I knew it was in the middle of the game. And you could see his face mask kind of come down and just hit him in the nose. It can happen, especially if your helmet's not fit right. So here's the play from the ESPN angle.
West Virginia does not want the 10-second
Boom. There it is right there.
runoff, so they take the timeout to avoid the run.
That's all it was. Right? I mean, does he get struck in the face by an arm? I mean, when you go in to tackle somebody, how else are you supposed to tackle somebody? Shoulders and arms hit face masks on every single play.
Does not want the
That's the play. See how his helmet goes down?
10-second
Right there. That's whenever, or right there.
Runoff,
One
so
of
they
those
take
two plays right there is when it happens. And you can see right there, the face mask hits him right in the bridge of the nose as it's being pressed up against him. So that's where that comes from. So, it's just another blatant lie. I feel like a political commentator right now. It's another blatant lie by the left. It's another blatant lie by the right. But in all seriousness, I'm trying not to take it too seriously, trying to make a joke out of it, right? But at the end of the, like I was telling Mike Osty just a minute ago, we were chatting via text, and I was telling him, like, because he was saying it's not a big deal. And I'm like, well, it is, though, to me, because this is our state that they're trying to implicate as some crazy, dangerous place to go. You know what they are? You know what this Pitt team is? They're a reflection of Pat Narduzzi. They're fake tough. They're not real tough. Like they're fake tough. That's what I call it. So, and here's a couple of reasons why. You're going to take off on the image of your head coach, right? That's what we say about West Virginia. That's what we say about a lot of people. Why do a lot of people just drop out of here? Like literally 20 people all at once dropped out of here. That was weird. So let's go back and look one more time, and then we'll put this to bed for a long time. I had this running list of things that Narduzzi has said, since 2021, and here they are. So in 2021, during negotiations to resume the brawl, Narduzzi repeatedly suggested West Virginia was dodging the series due to fear of losing, saying things like Pitt wants to play West Virginia, but West Virginia might not. And now he's doing it again, right? 2022, Pat Narduzzi downplaying West Virginia fan presence. After Pitt's win over West Virginia, Narduzzi ripped ESPN for a graphic claiming 75% of fans were in the stadium, insisting it was certainly all Pitt here today. You guys messed that up on ESPN for sure, which was a lie. West Virginia was heavily there. Pat Narduzzi ordering helmets for bus arrival. Before the 2023 backyard brawl in Morgantown, Narduzzi had his players wear helmets when exiting the bus for protection, citing fears of thrown objects or fan aggression. He later claimed that fans threw beer cans, which are unsubstantiated, feeding the narrative of West Virginia crowds as violent post-loss. He downplayed it but stuck to the story. So, and then here it is again, 93.7 the fan. During the call-in, he roasted the West Virginia fan base, calling their talk and implying hyping without substance. He said something to the effect of West Virginia fans being overly vocal, but the team underperforming. He also escalated the pre-series extension drama. This was seen as a direct shade to the Mountaineer mentality. Also, he said that they would rather go to the zoo than go to a game in Morgantown. He noted that West Virginia fans have disrespect and unclean hate in June and September of this past year. He described the rivalry as hate-filled, one-sided from West Virginia, calling it disrespect that sometimes is not clean. As he elaborated, the hate that West Virginia has for Pitt, that makes a rivalry, implying West Virginia's passion crosses into improper territory. He also hinted at scars from the 2007 Pitt win that West Virginia fans still dwell on. So he gets his little kicks in with that. Eli Holstein on West Virginia fans throwing beer and flipping him off. In the press conference before the backyard brawl a couple days ago, He claimed he'd been warned about the extreme fan hostility. There's going to be a lot of little kids flipping me off. I'm going to get batteries and beer thrown at me on the sidelines, all types of stuff like that. He later clarified it came from stories he'd heard, likely fed by Narduzzi or team vets, but no such incidents have occurred, which once again painted West Virginia fans as hostile. And then the famous comment from back in June when, in a preseason interview discussing the backyard brawl kickoff time at 3:30, Narduzzi suggested fans would be as rowdy due to the earlier slot. He said, quote, "They'll be less liquored up, probably less likely to throw a full beer can at you on the field," which directly implies the West Virginia fans are habitual beer throwers when drunk, which underestimate their tailgating prowess and poking at the party reputation. So, it is a long list of things that, for me, like, okay, if you want to poke fun at it here and there, I get it. But, there are other instances that I didn't even include. It's just, it's misinformation. It makes us look bad, y'all. Saying that we punch people, whether the players or not. You got Fred Snurd getting arrested after the game. People were saying he confronted Narduzzi. I have no idea if this happened, which is a West Virginia fan, if you don't know who that is. But, maybe I'm overblown it. Maybe I shouldn't care as much, but I care about our reputation in this day and age when everybody is on the chopping block for conference realignment, right? If your fan base is a problem or if there are issues like that, it could be the one thing that's needed to keep you out of a conference, right? So I just wanted to point that out. We caught him in a lie. We definitely caught Holstein in a lie. I mean, for those of you that haven't watched the video, rewind this one and you'll see he didn't get punched. It was literally a guy trying to tackle him and his arm hitting him. So no surprise that they lean into this narrative of the lies like that. But it's time to move on. This was my last segment on PITT for a while, unless they lose a big game or maybe if Narduzzi gets fired or something. But I think it's time we move on. Like as fans, I think we had fun with it longer than the players could. Like they had to move on basically Sunday. So, start getting ready for Kansas because Kansas could kick our ass if we don't. So that's as fans, I think it's time for us to move on too. We've had a lot of fun enjoying the backyard brawl win because of all the stories that are surrounding it. I get it 100%. Trust me. I've lived through that game. I was broken over that game. I was a young guy at that time, but I remember it well in my 20s. So it meant a lot to all of us. And we're so glad that we were able to shove all those lies back down their throat and move on from this backyard brawl with a win or at least a couple more years. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, guys. Make sure you like that video, subscribe if you're new around here, and definitely share the video out if you have a chance. Don't be like Eli Holstein. They punched me. Look at that nose, man. It looks like it's got a growth underneath it. All right, let's go to break here, man. I think we'll talk a little bit about Kansas next. What are we getting ourselves into in Lawrence next week? Oh, Lord. This episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by our friends at the Game Cap. And look, when it comes to the Game Cap, there's only a couple of things I really need to know about you. If you could go back in time, sit front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yeah, I said hat. For me, it would be the backyard brawl, always, right? These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles worn back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price as they did back then, which is rare. Actually doesn't happen anywhere. When you use code Locked On, you'll get your vintage hat for $16.99. Head to thegamecaps.com, thegamecaps.com, to grab your team's classic bar or retro circle style design and use code Locked On for an exclusive discount, because legends, they wear the game. And moving on to our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Of course, when it comes to 5 Hour Energy, 5 Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with zero sugar and crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. They've got big taste, tiny shot, and you can take it anywhere to get that boost when you need it. Honestly, I love how fast it kicks in. That is sugar-free, so I don't have to worry about crashing later. Come on, guys. It's enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the flavors you love or be a bold, try something new in the store or online at www.5hourenergyshot.com, or you can go to Amazon today. It's segment 2. Let's crack open this mini do and jump into a little bit of a miniature game preview. Some of the numbers, I've tried to double check right before the show. I've got an intern that's been putting stuff together for me. Here's the problem. He's not a football fan. So I'm having to explain to him what certain things mean, certain data, certain analytics. And I'm trying to be patient, but man, he just gets certain things wrong that I can't be wrong about live on a show. So, it's a mixture of like trying to be patient and certain things like that. But yeah, so at the end of the day, I think Kansas is a good football team. I do not think they're 11.5 favorites like they've been shown to be early on. Like I said yesterday and the day before, if I am anybody, all my money's in cash right now, I'd have to go to the bank and put money in cash. But if I wanted to bet on Kansas, I would. On West Virginia, I would. Like, if it stays at 11.5, I may go do that. I may. I'm very tempted to do it, and I never bet. But 11.5 points is a lot. I don't think Kansas is good enough to do this based on their defense, in my opinion. Let's look at the numbers in this game. Obviously Kansas, they played a pretty tough schedule. They've definitely played at least one good game up until now. Other than that, not so much. They played Fresno, who has been up and down. They played Wagner, who was horrible, but they did play Missouri, who was a good football team. They are a good football team. Now, here's another thing. Here's another reason I think Kansas is probably favored here. This is just what I'm suspecting. They're coming off a bye week here. They haven't played since September 6th. We're coming off a Pitt game where we're probably going to be beat to hell. This is a bad spot for us to be in, I would say. If you're going to ask me to pick a bad spot to be in, this is a bad spot to be in. You're coming off a couple of weeks of really physical football. 2 weeks, really. I mean, you're Robert Morris, not really. Kansas is coming off a loss, much like us in Ohio. And they kind of got pushed around a little bit by Missouri. They're going to be pissed. And they're at home. And they've had 2 weeks to prepare for us. These are the games Neil Brown got blown totally out of the water in. What can Rich Rod and company do to combat some of these things that are, let's just be honest, they're kind of not in our favor, right? I mean, this game, it should not if we lost this game, I don't think anybody would be shocked, would they? I mean, I definitely believe in our guys. I'm not saying I don't, but man, dude, it gets tough. It gets tough when you go on the road in the Big 12. I think a lot of people underestimate what that looks like, and I get it. I totally understand why, but let me share some numbers with you here really quick. Okay, so pull up Kansas here. Okay. Kansas is 2-1 after week 3. Obviously, they beat Fresno 31-7, which is a home win. The Jayhawks dominated with the balanced attack, holding Fresno to just 189 yards while racking up 413 offensive yards. Wagner 46-7, which is another home win where they exploded for 631 yards, 285 rushing in a blowout over against an FCS team. Then they go to Missouri and they lose on the road. High-scoring border war. Kansas rallied late, but they fell short. They did manage 478 yards, but allowed 512. And obviously, we know that, just an incredible performance by Bo Pribula, who went 30 of 39 in the game. Insane stats. So, through 3 games, Kansas has shown the explosive potential on offense and consistency on defense, particularly against stronger competition like Missouri. They've averaged strong possession times, around 32 minutes per game. This is a key stat to watch in the game, but struggle with turnovers, 5 total, including 3 picks. Okay, so what's going to win out here, guys? And these are all things that I put in the prompt that I wanted in here, right? So, okay. Obviously, we play fast, and if we're not getting first downs, that means time of possession, especially for a team like Kansas, which holds on to it for a really long time. You can bet your bottom dollar that's going to be one of their 2 or 3 biggest game plan points of emphasis this week. Because if you can get West Virginia in the 2nd and long, 3rd and long, get them behind the chains and behind the chains and get them out fast, Kansas can go on long, sustained drives. Maybe not even score. But by the time the 3rd and 4th quarter comes around, West Virginia should be worn damn slap out. So that is going to be something to definitely watch. So if you look at Kansas as a whole here, they're averaging 36 points a game. Their defense is holding people to 18.7 yards per game. Total yards 422. Rushing yards 174. Defense they're holding people to 98. Passing yards are at 248.3. Defense 268.3. They've lost 5 turnovers but forced 3. I didn't have the answer on sacks. They have cost 7.5 sacks. 3rd down conversions 42.9%, and they're allowing 35.7%. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Through week 3, their offense totals 84th in the country, 82nd in passing, 108th in rushing. Their defense is 62nd, 75th, which is strong against the run, but vulnerable to the pass. So obviously, it's only through week 3, so you got to keep that in mind. These numbers probably will either get better or worse as the season goes on. Their offense is 8th in scoring, 9th in total yards, and 10th in points allowed in the Big 12, and 11th in total yards allowed. Obviously, Jalen Daniels is back, who's just one of the very best players in all of college football. 679 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a 67% completion percentage. He is the stir that straws the drink for them. We know that. He's an electric player. He can run pass option. He's very similar to Parker Navarro. But I don't think he's as tough. He's definitely can be hurt. And if I'm Zach Alley, I'm telling dudes, make sure he feels it. Sorry. Make sure he feels it, right? 90 yards and a touchdown rushing in the Missouri game with 285 yards and 3 scores. That's very good against a pretty athletic defense. Daniel Highshaw Jr. is a good player. Is he as good as what they've had in Devin Neal? No, he's not. But he is a very good player. He's always been the backup. He's kind of he's in that Nico Marchio role as a running back. He's been behind somebody that was just better than him for a few years, or maybe not better than, but given him more of an opportunity. And now it's his turn, right? A couple of years into his career, didn't transfer. Emmanuel Henderson Jr. is back, averaging 18 yards per catch. Trey Lathan leads the team in 25 tackles. We're not shocked to see that. But we know Trey Lathan can definitely overrun and be overly aggressive. He is a great athlete, can run to the football, but he's certainly not a perfect linebacker. I am so sorry, guys. that medicine I take gives me the yawns, and I have to take it. Leroy Harris, defensive end, has 3.5 sacks. Guys, he is an amazing player. 8 tackles. He's an edge rusher. He had 2 sacks versus Fresno. But if you turn on the tape, we're going to have problems with the pass rush, I think, and that's going to be something to watch. Obviously, West Virginia, we know about what we've done. Guys, look at our defense right now, averaging 12.3 points per game. Absolutely elite. That's probably top 15 in the country. Points per game on offense, we're averaging 31 because of, obviously, we scored 45, 31, and then I hate that 10 one game. Let me take a drink of this. Gosh, man, I try to take the medicine around when I'm going to record, but I never know when I'm going to record. Total yards per game right now, we're at 436, 345.7 on defense. Yards per game allowed. Rushing yards per game, we're at 213. Passing yards per game, we're at 223, guys. That's perfect balance. We'll take that. Defense, we're only allowing 112 rushing yards a game. Absolutely elite. Passing yards per game, 233. You'll take that. Turnovers forced, 4. Turnovers lost, 4. Sacks, we know we had 6 in one game versus Pitt alone. Looks like we've got 8 sacks total on offense. I want to say we probably got, oh, man, what do you think? At least 5 or so, right, on the year. I would say on offense, we probably given up 5 or so sacks. I know we gave up 3 Saturday. We probably gave up 1 or 2 versus Ohio. So third down conversions, we're at 40%. They're at 30%. Obviously, we both want to be better. So Nico, he hasn't thrown any interceptions. That's wrong, which is why I made it update it. So 594 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions for Nico so far. 141 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns for Ty Edwards, which we know that's what he did Saturday. Jaheim's out. Cam Francher. This is why you don't trust AI all the time. It's getting certain names wrong. Cam Francher. What the hell? Darren Lewis. Trist. So yeah, we're going to look at those. I don't know what it is with AI, but like all I did was put the numbers in and said, "Hey, make me a list." Right? Like I went and looked them up. I just like I've got 2 screens pulled up. I'm typing in the numbers and the names of people, and then I'm like, just hit enter, and I'm like, "Hey, make me a list out of this." That's all I'm asking it to do. All these people that say AI is going to take over the world, I don't know, man. I'm about done using Grok for stuff because every time I use it, there's some kind of mistake. It's not like I'm asking it to generate the stuff on its own. Like if I typed in, "Hey, look up what West Virginia's done this year," and then it comes up with all that. Okay, I can understand a mistake or two, right? It's especially Grok is not really good at that kind of stuff. But like if I'm typing stuff in and you're still getting it wrong, it's like, what are we doing here? Let's go to break. We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about that game, my thoughts on the Kansas game, how I'm feeling about it. I do have some thoughts. We'll be right back. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. And with Prize Picks, if you didn't know, now you know. The daily fantasy app called Prize Picks is where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day. You know that. I know that. But on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just more or less pick on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn up the stakes and takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds, dude. Look, it's quick, it's easy. It's honestly my favorite way to follow along with football games I'm not having a rooting interest in, and you can do that as well. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Locked On College for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Check it out at Prize Picks today. It's good to be right. And last but not least, our friends at FanDuel say the NFL season is here. FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's elite stuff. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Look, download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, we are back here, Locked On West Virginia. Thank you guys so much for joining in. Please like the video while you're here. Just move your mouse clicker over, your little finger over, whatever you got going on your phone or your thumb, and hit the like button for me, please. Subscribe if you're new around here, and definitely leave a comment below. I would love to know your thoughts on the Kansas game. We'd love to know your thoughts on Holstein's lies and Narduzzi's lies, the indoctrination of the Pitt Panthers from Narduzzi about West Virginia being a bad, dangerous place to live. You live in the city of Pittsburgh, but you're calling West Virginia dangerous. Get out of here with that. Anyway, I went backwards, didn't I? So those numbers we just read off don't inspire a lot of confidence in me to think that Kansas is 11.5-point favorites. The money should come in strong on West Virginia and get this thing down to 5 or 6. Then we'll see where it goes from there. Should Kansas be favored in the game? Yeah, they should be favored. They should be favored by 3 or 4 points. Absolutely. You got me there. But these are 2-2-1 football teams. One has beat the only Power 5 team it's played. The other has not. But the one that's beat the Power 5 team, West Virginia, lost to a MAC team. So you kind of don't know what you're going to get. I've said it multiple times, guys. I'm going to keep showing this graphic until we know it's not going to happen. And it's just the way it is. For those of you that aren't watching, this is Rich Rodriguez. And it's a graphic that says found their groove, Jacksonville State this season. And it says first 3 games, 0-3, 25 points per game, 120 rushing yards per game, 47 points allowed per game, 536 yards per game. Last 9 games, they went 8-1, 38.9 points per game, 302 yards per game, 20 opponent points a game allowed, and then 352 opponent yards per game. And it happened after game 3 for whatever reason. Maybe it takes that long to ingratiate, for Rich Rod to ingratiate all the different things about himself to a program. So could we be having a similar turn? I'm not going to say, what would it be after last week? It would be 9-1 down the stretch. I'm not saying we're going to go 9-1 down the stretch or something crazy, but could we go 6-4 down the stretch because he's turned it around a little bit? I think we could. I do think we have a chance to win 7 or 8 games, but it's going to depend a lot on the injuries. Obviously, that's a big deal, and if our team gets beaten up and burn out, right? I think that's the thing you worry about the most, especially with, if you look at the West Virginia schedule on West Virginia's, hold on. Obviously, you got Kansas now, Utah next. And, unfortunately, there's no bye in between. You don't get a bye until after BYU. So, I mean, to think that you've got to get through Kansas, Utah, and BYU in week 6 before you get a bye could be asking a lot. I will say this: if you can go 2-1 over your next 3 weeks, Kansas, Utah, and BYU, you've got a real shot here. It doesn't matter who you beat, who you lose to. But I mean, can you beat Kansas and BYU on the road? I don't know. Can you beat BYU and Utah? I don't think so. I would be pretty shocked if we beat Utah the way they look. I would be, based on how good their defense is and how poor our offense has acted. Maybe we figure something out. And if that's the case, then we do. But, from a defensive standpoint, I just feel like let me know if you guys feel this way too, and then we'll close. It feels to me like our defense is already beaten up a lot. Like it feels like we've had Chase go down. Obviously, we've had Reed go down. You know, we've our defensive line has been out. I mean, we just been out there for a lot of plays in the couple of games. Ohio kept us out there forever and ever and ever and ever and ever against them 2 weeks ago. And then against Pitt, we played a bunch of snaps yesterday. You didn't play a bunch in the Robert Morris game, but it makes me wonder if we're starting to maybe get a little bit banged up and then think we got 3 more weeks to go. What are you going to look like against BYU in 2 weeks after Kansas and Utah back to back? It would be nice to have a blowout win. I mean, God knows we didn't have those again with Neil Brown, but under Rich Rob, we're going to have them. Will it happen this year? Maybe not. Next year and beyond, damn straight. We're going to have blowout wins. I just know that because I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. The program already feels like it did 20 years ago. Whenever I turned West Virginia on, and if you didn't know what it looked like, if you had no reference for it outside of highlights, now you know what we all been talking about. Even you Rich Rod haters can admit, holy shoot, that team played their asses off the other day. Like from the very first whistle, it's so plainly obvious on the screen that they're straining beyond the whistle on every play, every single player on the field, because you can ingrain it into a team, just like in the military. It was so ingrained in me to sit a certain way, to talk a certain way, to act a certain way, that it probably took me 4 to 6 months to kind of get out of it all. What do I mean? I used to stand with my feet at a 45-degree angle when I didn't need to. I used to sit up I wouldn't put my elbows on the table. I used to have my hands on my knees when I would sit back straight, knees at or feet at a 45, just the whole thing. You can be rigid, so you can do it in football too, to a lesser extent. And I think Rich Rod tries to do that with his teams. And over the course of 4 years is why he's so good, because over the course of 4 years, you really have a chance to bring in really good players and the whole nine. So at West Virginia, I don't know, obviously retaining guys are going to be the biggest part of what we do going forward. Hopefully that starts to happen. But for now, this year, I know we don't have a ton of depth. We go 2 deep at a lot of positions and 3 deep at a couple, but it's not like, we're going to get worn out at times. Hopefully it doesn't happen versus Utah or something to just get ran out of the building at home. That's going to be a hot ticket, Utah, especially if we beat Kansas. Other than that, though, guys, that's our early preview on Kansas. I think it's a winnable game on the road, but it's going to be a really tough game to win on the road. 11.5 points is too much, but I would say, even up to 6, I can understand, similar to Pitt this week, because we haven't looked great at times. We've looked pretty bad at times, to be honest, on offense especially. Our defense has ground themselves out to the point to where I'm worried about them hitting a wall. So we'll just have to continue to monitor it. Maybe we sack Jalen Daniels 5 times Saturday and cause a few turnovers, and it looks great. Maybe we do. But until I see it from my own eyes, I'm going to question it. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, y'all, and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. We'll find out more about the injuries and the returnees here tomorrow, guys. Obviously, Jamori Robinson should be playing Saturday. We're going to try to confirm that this week, the whole thing, and maybe it already has been today. I haven't looked. But there is a lot going on. So we will keep you updated. There'll be another video coming out later today, unless something happens. And I'll see you then. Until then, cue them country roads.